Well, once again, this time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show. Yeehaw!
Every day in America, suicides among the American military number at least 22 per day. This is far too many, but this number is a baseline. It is probably far greater, sadly. In conjunction with the movie The Keeper, which highlights a veteran who is suffering from PTSD and is contemplating ending his life, but decides not to do so and gets better. We want to help people remember and have in front of them the information that they need to highlight this tragedy and to hopefully reach out and help someone who is struggling in the same way as some of those were on the name tapes that our character carried throughout the movie The Keeper. So for 22 days, the Southern Fried Podcast is going to keep a sad number. We're going to keep a running tally using the baseline number 22, starting on September 2nd. And each day that we're on the air, we'll give the updated numbers. We want to highlight this not to promote a number, but to make a difference. There may be someone you know you need to reach out to, listen to, get the information to them. There's not a one-size-fits-all, but we need to let our veterans know that we care, we want to help, and that there's resources for them. The Southern Fried Podcast is committed to do their part to bring this number down. 1 is too many. 22 is an atrocity. And good evening. How are we doing on this Friday night? Front Porch Talkin live. We appreciate those of you that are already in here. As you can see, and I'll expand this out in a minute, Rob's not here. It is his anniversary. And I think he told me that that's about 5 years, I think it is. They did a little journey today. We did talk a couple of times today. Of course, we did the morning show this morning. Had fun with that. We appreciate those that came into the stream. We did have, and he's going to look at when it gets in, I think our Facebook Live got hung up a little bit. We'll fix that. I think the devil's been fighting us the last couple of days. We've had weird things happen, but maybe we give him too much credit. But for some reason, we've had weird things happen that just as those deals. I don't know. But we're glad you're here, and we're thankful for all those that are coming in. We're adding 2 here every second, and we appreciate that. Got some things I want to talk about tonight, and then we'll talk about whatever. After all, we're on the front porch. You see that on the screen. That's a new background we did. Grab your sweet tea. We got stuff to discuss, and we're going to discuss some stuff. A couple of things from this morning's show I kind of want to just go back into and have some fun with. Now, before we do all that, remember, in the beginning there, and I know that's a long intro, it's intended to be that way. It's to slow us down and think, and I hope that you won't just ignore that and take off and go. It's a long one, and we don't normally do that, but folks, we started this Monday. We're going to do it for 22 days. We're up to 110 minimum that it would be that veterans have committed suicide this week in just the time we've been counting. So let's be praying about that. We've got some ideas on some future events. We'll do our 22 days, but we're looking at some other things, maybe some car shows or motorcycle rallies, different things throughout the state. We're talking to people now, maybe in North and South Georgia, and we're just going to see if we can rally support. Pray for George Eshelman, who the movie The Keeper is about. He's in North Carolina. I've been keeping up with him on his Facebook page. You can too. Go there, support him. And then the movie, I've been looking around There's some theaters that have brought it online, but if you can't find it where you're at and they just won't bring it in, just remember on November 8th, Amazon Prime will begin streaming that. That's going to be big for this movie, and thankful for it. So we do want to highlight that. We've also got some new or updated and also new commercials. Now I think commercials, but these are pretty cool. Got some new things we want to announce, and then an update to programming, kind of get that updated for you. Other than that, we're just going to talk. Like I said, I got 2 or 3 things that I want to go over tonight. This kind of as a kickoff, but really it's a wrap up from this morning. We had a lot of fun. We appreciate our good friend who came in here a few weeks ago, came back. Mermaid Messiah, what a name! But she showed us pictures of her dog and herself, and we had a lot of fun with her. And she sent us a couple songs. I want to tell you, I really enjoyed those songs. Now they're not her songs; she was singing to other artists, but she did a good job, and they were moving to me. So if she happens to jump in here tonight, thanks for that. Thanks to also to see Tarman in here already. We had quite a few folks stopping in this morning. We appreciate that. I know Friday nights are busy for a lot of people, and we get it. There's a lot going on, family-wise or whatever, and sometimes, it's a push for us as well. But we love this show. We love this format. We're not complaining. We like it. We just know sometimes, like tonight, somebody's going to have to miss. We cover for each other, and we can't always be here together, but we sure do try. Thank you, Daniel, for being in here, and I know Rob's working on getting you into the stream. I'm sorry, and we'll get that figured out. It's just been one of those deals. So hiya to you. Appreciate you being that's the hardest working man in Chatsworth, Georgia. And we appreciate him. I mean, I don't know who the hardest working woman is in Chatsworth, Georgia, but we know who the hardest working man is. That's old Daniel. Oh yeah. Sugar britches. So we appreciate him being in here. Thank you for all the ex folks in here. Also Rumble. And hope, I don't know if there's any YouTube or not, but we appreciate wherever you're coming from tonight. We hope you had a great week. It's been a busy week. There's been a lot going on. And of course, the tragedy that has happened. I mean, it's just so disgusting to hear about these things, and to see the suffering of folks, and to see your wife, Daniel. All right, I'm gonna pop that up there. He says she is the hardest working woman in Chatsworth, Georgia. Absolutely. But, they did have the arraignments today for both father and son. And this has got a lot of tentacles to it. No matter what happened, they didn't have no right to do, or he didn't have any right to do what he did. The father and mother have had issues, according to reports. Of course, they've arrested him now and charging him as has been reported. We're not making it up, that it has been reported, and they're saying they arrested him because he bought the gun for him even after the trouble, and they told him to keep his guns locked up. So there's a lot of emotion around that, a lot of sorrow, a lot of healing, a lot of hurt, and all those things. And so it's my understanding the children have had, as we can guess, a pretty horrible childhood. But, people have horrible childhoods. They don't grow up and go to be a mass murderer. So there's that. There was some talk from an aunt who come out and, listen, I know that's her nephew and nieces and whatever else, but, you just got to understand, look what's happened. So I think she backed off some of her comments. But, you want to, family's going to stand with family, and I don't blame them, but you don't need to get out and say some things you shouldn't say. I mean, nobody faults a parent for standing up, and going to court with their child. That's their child. And, they're hit, usually sometimes they don't have any clue this is going on. And this, I'm not saying that anybody knew that he was going to do this, but we certainly know that they could have done some things to prohibit it. But again, we don't know everything, and I'm a big believer in letting investigations play their way out, and we will let this one play out and let them do their job. I'm not the professional here. I'm just a guy, a concerned citizen, a podcaster, and a pastor, and all those, a citizen of Georgia, and just hate to see those kind of things happen. It's horrible. We appreciate all those that are doing hard work to bring justice. I mean, that's what you're looking for, is justice. So Front Porch Talking. Well, I hope you got your sweet tea. I do have some coffee. I don't have my sweet tea, but I do have some coffee. We hope you've got some. It is tasting good. And the weather is so nice, right? I mean, the weather is so nice. There's that little tinge of coolness in the air. And by Sunday night in our area now, in our region, maybe not Rob's, but on Sunday night, I think we're going to get in the upper 50s at night. Oh, that's getting good right there now. It's there's a football game. I think the second NFL game is tonight in Brazil. I did watch KC and Baltimore last night. What a great game! I enjoyed the outcome. I like the Chiefs. Not against Baltimore, and there's some players on there I like, but I enjoyed that. I think we got who is it? Green Bay and Philadelphia tonight. Oh man, that'd be a good game. But I'm gonna maybe catch the end of it here, maybe not. I've been busy with podcast stuff all after or evening and trying to get some things done. It don't happen by itself. We have to get in there and do some things, and we enjoy it. And then Saturday, college football kicked back into high gear. Georgia has Tennessee Tech, I think it is, and there'll be some other matchups. We'll talk about that on our sports show. And we got to do a wrap up from last week, and I'm going to see how I know how it is. I want to talk about how I did on my picks. I didn't do bad, really. I don't do point spreads because I don't gamble and I don't bet and all that stuff. That's for others, not me. I just do a straight pick 'em up or down the line. If I talk about a line, it's just what I think that they're saying that maybe that they're giving they're going to win by this much or lose by this much. But I just do a pick 'em. I don't care for all that. But I do. I am glad it's football time of season. So of course. You got your Friday night football going on. Some people be out doing that and enjoy that and take advantage of it. The weather's getting quite nice, and watch your kids or your nieces, nephews, or grandchildren, whoever it is. Absolutely go do those things. And then celebrate Jesus every day of the week and twice on Sunday, as we might say. But yeah, let's lift up and help people. I was talking to someone today I haven't never met. We had a long discussion, and there's things in my office at work that I just like conversation starters. And I talked about a couple things, and it was confusing to them. They're trying to figure me out. Well, that's hard to do. Rob will tell you that. I'm a complicated individual. I have a lot of different interests. So I had a Marine book on the wall. They thought I was a Marine. I said, no, I just love the military. I won't try to steal that thunder. I'm not a Marine, or not been a Marine. Semper Fi. We support our Marines and our Army and Navy and Air Force and all the other Space Force and Coast Guard and all the others that we have. And then they saw my nameplate, and I have a nameplate that has Star David on it and says Shalom on it. So then they thought I was Jewish. So no, but I love the Jewish people and praying for the peace of Jerusalem. So they're trying to figure me out. Maybe you're like that. Maybe people try to figure you out, try to read you. By the way, I am wearing my hat. We're going to do an ad for the store later, and this is the hat. Just came in, and I just wore it today, and it looks good. Chris, the mad scientist, he designed that, and we have many designs. This is just one of them. It fits good. It works great for the podcast with my headphones on. I appreciate that. And I'm hoping to get a coffee mug in soon. And if you get anything, just advertise with it. It's word of mouth. We're growing every day, and we appreciate it. And we're not trying to grow into some superpower or anything like that. We're just happy to be here, and we want to be a help to somebody, And we get a lot of comments. I mean, and mostly positive. I mean, there's always a Yahoo out there here and there. It's really only been one. And if there were others, they didn't say it to us. That's okay. We're big boys. We can take it. We're not for everybody, nor is any show for everybody. But we do like to get it out because we know that some of the things we do would lift somebody's spirits or make them laugh or feed their soul or whatever it might be. And on that note, I do want to apologize. We had some hiccups. But I have loaded one of the devotions that got missed. It wasn't missed. We just had problems that morning. If you saw it live, you realize that. I lost audio. Reloaded it, got it all fixed up, reloaded. The other one will go out this evening for Friday. Then Monday's will be loaded in there. We missed our funny today. Again, we kind of took a short break from that with the tragedy going on for the remainder of the week. So that was planned. So I say missed, but it was a plan to miss. And, we're still going to laugh. You've seen us laughing this morning or even the other night, but we're going to start those back Monday. We just wanted to take some time in the morning and reflect and support those folks who are grieving, and it's hard for them to find laughter right now. And it may be a long time before they do. I remember one time I watched a gentleman, and it was a dear friend. I won't say his name, and but it could have been worse. And he was there trying to help. And without giving any details, I don't want anybody to figure out who I'm talking about. Some people that watch us might be able to figure it out. So, but I just want to say this, because it's really not about what happened. It's more what happened to him. The tragedy was somebody else, but he was there and he was trying to assist, and it affected him really hard because he cares. And I didn't see this man laugh for a long time, or even smile. He had a serious look all the time. He was kind. He wasn't bitter and being mean or anything like that. He just was hurting. And one day, and I mean, this is like I want to say a good 2 years later. And I saw him kind of, have a little chuckle about something. I told him, I said, I said his name, which I'm not going to say here. I said, it is so good to hear you laugh again. And he kind of shook his head and he said, it's been a while. I said, I know, and I know why, but I said, it's just good. It lets me know that even though that will never go from your memory, you're better, you're healing. And he said, it does get better. He said, yeah, it's always there, but it does get better. And so there's going to be some people in Georgia it's going to be a long time before they can find a way to laugh again. And we just got to pray for them, because, I mean, right now their lives are ripped apart. And we understand that to a degree. I'm not going to say I fully understand it. I mean, how do you even say that? I was thinking about this morning, and people can be mad at me if they want, but I think about a lot of stuff. I think about all those that their lives are destroyed. But there's also some kids that are, related to this young man, and they've now got to live with that the rest of their life. That their brother or cousin or whatever it might be has done this horrible tragedy, and it affects their lives too. And, there's going to be hurt and shame and bitterness and anger, and who knows? I remember reading the book by BTK's, the BTK, I don't like to say the words out, but you know what I'm talking about. And he had been active, then he quit, then he got active again, and they caught him, and he's locked up. I think it's Supermax. He'll never get out. Don't need to. He's evil. But I read his daughter's book that she wrote, and just how it affected her and her family. They had no idea. And all the shock, sorrow, anger. And she talked about her dad, and from a daughter's perspective, but also tried to project and look at how others, look at, but she just wanted to cover about their lives, their lives. They never knew that had went on. And she even talked about how she reached out to, yes, Paul, she reached out to her dad in prison and talked to him, or in jail as he's waiting for sentencing. She watched all of that, and there were, she had to find out where she fit in this. She had to find out where she fit in this for her and her dad, the relationship. And he's my dad, and so she reached out, but he was very hard. He was very hard to. Felt like he of course he wouldn't take. I mean, there's a lot of things about it. I don't want to go into that, but there was a time that she didn't talk to her dad, but she said, he's my dad. I'm going to try to reach out. There's times I may need to take a break from that and communicate with him, but that's hard. I mean, I can't even imagine. And then, like I said, the community, the school, all that goes with that. A lot of issues. Going to be a lot of counseling needed for a long time for a lot of people. And yes, they need the Lord. They need grace. Need our prayers. We need to pray for people like that. We hey, Michael, appreciate you for giving us a like there. I seen that pop up. But yeah, I mean, just horrible. So life goes on. Life doesn't stop, and we keep going, and we got to find a way. These horrific things that hit close to home, we got to find a way to continue to keep moving forward. And we've got responsibilities. We've got jobs to do. We've got things we got to fix. We got people we got to build relationships with, and so we can't focus on it every second of the day because we have things we have to do, but it doesn't mean we don't care. It just means that we'll pray. Our church will be praying. I'm sure that my members are already praying about it. And on Sunday, we'll corporately pray about that as a church. And I was thinking today of all the millions of prayers that have been going up for these families, the school, the other students, and yes, even for those who are guilty. We're going to pray for folks, and we must do that. And one day it's hard to understand when you're facing pure evil. It's hard to understand some things sometimes, but we'll get through. It's not for us to understand everything. Paul, how you doing tonight, brother? Appreciate those kind words. Daniel, he's the hardest working man, and I found out his wife is the hardest working woman there in Chatsworth, Georgia. I didn't know that. I don't know if Rob knew that. I'm gonna find out if he knew that when he gets back on the podcast, and we'll be back live together Monday morning. There'll be some pets and vets and other things. We record those, and I'll be live Sunday morning in the Word, 8:30 a.m. So be looking for that. But as far as us together, Monday morning for a funny and then the live program, and then we'll be there for Mama Said, that longer format program we have on just Mama Said Talk. Mama said a lot of things. We're going to talk and talk about moms. We're hoping to have a mom come on soon and give mom's perspective on that stuff too. I hope y'all had a great Friday, and I know it was many of you had to work, or maybe you got to work this weekend, and or maybe you can't work and you're disabled, and I get that. But we're glad you joined us. It means a lot to us that you dedicate some of your time to the Southern Fried Podcast. I mean, time is valuable, and we appreciate that you getting here with us. Now, this morning, I wanted to talk about a couple things that was kind of left open. We kind of ended the program. We were asking the lady that come in. We know her name. I don't want to say it because she may not want that, but she's been in before, and we were talking about. She sent us an email, a couple of songs that she had sung over, of an artist, and I enjoyed those. And she showed us her dogs and stuff, and we had a good time with that. We were talking about music and who she liked, and we were trying to kind of have fun with that, and we kind of ran out of time. Of course, I had to go to work, and Rob had to, get off the air too. There's some things they're doing on their end, I'm doing on my end. I had to drop kids off and go to work, which that's good. We got it again, got duties, got things we got to do. But we were talking about artists, and I said I was kind of picking at her, and I said I bet she likes Madonna, and she was kind of laughing about that. But I said, actually, there's a couple of Madonna songs that I like. And maybe some of you like a lot of Madonna songs, or maybe you don't like her at all. But I wanted to come back to that because I ran out of time this morning. I kind of left that as a teaser, as they call it, and was going to come back tonight and talk about some things about music. And then I've got another topic I want to go into, which I'll get into in the second hour. But I wanted to talk about this, and we can talk about any artist, but I wanted to tell you, because some people are like, well, there's a preacher, he says he likes Madonna. Well, she's been around a long time. Me and her she's been around a while. I've been around a while, but you go way back when she was very young. And her first album that I heard, I guess was her first one, she looked very different. I actually liked that look better than anything she ever became, to be honest. If people can disagree, that's fine. But she had a couple of songs on that first. I had that album, and one of the songs, they still played on the radio. There's a couple of them they played, and one of them was Borderline, and I liked that song. It's like the sound of it. Whether the content was, what we should be listening to or not, I'm just going to say I like that song, Borderline. But my favorite song, and you can tell me your thoughts on it, my favorite song of Madonna is and I think it was in a movie, and it was the Live to Tell. Live to Tell. I love that song. It's so different than anything that she ever did before or ever since. And I don't know what it is about that song, but I really like that song. Now, there's a couple of others that, it's okay. They're catchy or whatever. There was a point when she really went rough. You know what I mean? She went to a direction that was not nice, controversial. And of course, controversy sells a lot of times. We know that. And she was going for that shock value. She's very talented, but she went for the shock. And I didn't like that that shift. I didn't like that at all. So I didn't care for those things. And over time, that's just got, I think worse and worse. But early on, she just, of course, they were probably, she wasn't a star. She couldn't throw some things out there that she wanted to put out there, probably, or maybe she just became that over time. But appreciate your thoughts on that, because I think that's interesting. If there's anything by her that you like or not. But before we get to that, I'll probably run an ad here in just a minute. And I do have more than one rocking chair. Our other background only had one, and now we got three. So it gives you more room to sit down here and grab your sweet tea and, go on with our discussion tonight. One for me, one for Rob, and then our guest. I guess that was what we would do. We would put the guest right in the middle, like the old talk show. Tarman says, and that's fine. And I know that some would not like her, just never listen to her, and that's fine. I was young. I mean, oh goodness, I mean, she's in her 60s or 70s now. Of course, I'm almost 60, so she was very young when I first heard her. He played in a band. I don't know. I think you mentioned that, but maybe I missed that. And you liked rock, also bluegrass. What did you play in a band, Tarman, as far as instrument? What was your instrument that you played? That would be interesting. One of my department managers used to be a drummer, and he brought in the picture of it as a drummer, and he had this really long hair and everything. And then, unfortunately, his hair let go. He said, believe it or not, that's me. But he did play in a band, and of course, everybody that plays in a band, sometimes they think they're going to, go on, or maybe they just want to do local stuff. But then sometimes that, it's like that song. What is it? It's the, is it Bryan Adams? One of them quit, one of them got married, is that who I'm thinking of? And so the band, broke up or whatever. That happens a lot, or they join another band. I thought about these, another topic you could have fun with sometimes is people who left a band to go to another band, and then the band they were in got really big. Yeah. Well, thank you, Tarman. Played guitar. Yeah, I appreciate you doing that. Sometimes there's issues with different streams, and so yeah, I've actually have X open right now on my phone and just monitoring. Helps me to monitor stuff, and so we do things. I bounce around and look at all the streams and stuff. You have to do that. I mean, you have to watch and make sure things are not going haywire. And if they do, then you fix it. Do the best you can with that. But appreciate it. But you played guitar, so did you play acoustic or electric or both, or did you play lead? Did you play rhythm? Solos, just like to know. And so what kind of music was you pretty much playing when you played guitar, or was y'all a cover band? Did you write your own songs? Those are neat things to learn about people. I think that's interesting. I met this guy once, and I was fiddling with a guitar. Of course, I was nowhere near anything, but he asked me what I was going to play, and I said, I think I was going to play rhythm. So he was wanting me in his band. He said, I need a rhythm guitar player. I thought, well, I'm not that. I can't do that yet. But he said, I play lead, and I'll never forget this. Pardon me. He put down, whether you like him or not, I mean, he broke barriers, and he did things that nobody had done before. Jimi Hendrix, and he just trashed Jimi Hendrix. He said, "Oh, his stuff is nothing. I can play that blindfolded, and it's nothing." And people brag on him. I have no respect. And I said, "Did you write the music?" He said, "No, but I can play it." I said, "Son, let me tell you something. When you write the music and you perform the music, and you influence a generation in the instrument that you play, then come talk to me." Because you may be able to do all those notes, but you didn't create them. You didn't put them down on a record, and you didn't play in front of millions. Not putting you down, brother, but why are you trashing a guy who did? I thought his ego was way, way off base doing those things. But I guess you got to have some ego, right? If you're going to be the lead singer or lead guitar. Everybody's kind of, in a band, everybody's kind of quirky, right? Sorry, I've had these allergies. My draining a little bit, so if I cough, it's been bothering me for a few days. But what a drummer is very different than a bass player, right? But they kind of work together because uh, they, they have to stay in time and everything for the rest of the band. The guitar player, lead guitar player, he's very different, and then your lead singer is way different than anybody else a lot of times. So uh, you know how that is. You got these attitudes and egos, and sometimes nobody can stand the lead singer. It takes a lot of ego to be up there in front of everybody and sing and talk to the group, thousands of people. And let's see here. So Tarman says, interesting. Pop this up. Everything mostly cover songs. Other members were not serious, girl crazy. Well, that's why a lot of people get in bands. Looking for some girls. I ended up playing with some guys in Chattanooga and played anywhere they need me. Well, that was I bet that was interesting. So mostly covers. So what kind of songs did you cover? I mean, like give me I mean a lot of bands in Chattanooga, if you're going to do covers, depending on where you're at, you had to do a little bit of Skinner, right? It's going to be requested. A little bit of Skinner, maybe a little bit of some other Southern rock. You might even dip over and do some country. Southern rock, yeah, Allman Brothers, and oh my goodness, all those different bands. Molly Hatchet as another one. Um, how about one-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eater? Yeah, Tarman says he did some country. Paul, what in the world? One-eyed, one-horn, flying purple people eater. Explain. You've lost me. Okay, is that a song or a group or what is that? I'm probably looking real dumb here. That's okay. But Robert tries to make me look dumb, so I'll make myself. You've stumped me, man. I am stumped on that one. It's an oldie. Okay. Well, okay, the song. Maybe I do know that one. Oh my goodness. I was trying to think, is that a band? You know what? It'd be a long band name, right? Oh my goodness. It's an oldie. Well, I'm an oldie. I mean, us oldies, we got to stick together. Oh my goodness. It's an oldie. That's what they say about me. He's an oldie, he's an old guy. These teenagers, they look at me like he's ancient. Tire Man says, well, that does happen, brother. I got to hanging out in clubs, setting in, just led me to drinking more. It does that. It does. And hey, we know we're living for Jesus now, but hey, we was out there in some of those clubs. I don't hide my past. It's people know it anyway. They saw me, and we're not bragging about it, but it's part of our story. Hey, I went to not change the subject. I still want to talk about music, but I remember going down to minister with first time I ever went out into a jail, and I went to this jail, and I was talking to I didn't know what to say. I was a young guy, very shy still, and I went to these preachers. They were doing the preaching. I just helped with the singing, but we had times we could talk to them. They'd let us talk to them for just a few minutes, and I was talking to these people, and I thought, what do I say? But when you're talking to them, you realize that if something had went wrong, a little bit wrong in your life, you'd be where they're at, and you find out that I'm going to tell you, I talked to a young man, and he was one of the most respectful young men that I'd ever talked to. He was probably he was a young guy. I don't remember. I don't even know if he was past the age of 19. He might have been 20. He was somewhere right in there. And him and some guys, they went and they robbed a drug dealer. They knew he had money, and something went, wrong. And he ended up, he was the shooter. And I didn't know that till I left. And I went, my wife's talking to me real quick. What? No, Rob's not here tonight. He's on his anniversary, 5 years anniversary. So that's just me and the gang. So anyway, I was talking to him, and the whole time I was talking to him, I didn't know what he did. You don't know. You just see a person. And he was this young guy, and he was very respectful. It was yes, sir, no, sir. And I was telling him, I've said this before on the podcast, but I was telling him, hey, while you're in here, he was in one of those pods where there's like 8 of them or whatever it is. It's in one pod. There's like 3 pods on each side. We went to 2 sides, so we did six things in that pod. 3 on one side, 3 on another. We didn't do all of them. One of them was female. They kept, and that was difficult because they had to make sure they weren't talking to each other and all that. But anyway. He hadn't went to trial yet. This was a holding facility for people that had gotten in trouble and not had their court yet, their trial. And I said, hey, you serve the Lord in here. He had been to church before, and he said, I said, when you get out, find you a good church. And he said, if I get out, and I didn't want to go down that road. I just said, okay, I understand. I said, well, while you're in here, you can serve the Lord from in here and hold on to those things and. Whatever happened, pay your debt to society and everything. So when we left, the guy that took us down there said, he told us what had happened. This guy was a shooter. He said he's going away for a long time. And, I'm sure there were people that hated that young man's guts because he took the life of someone that they loved, although they were mixed up in things they shouldn't be doing. They didn't deserve to die. So this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning. But what I was looking at was a person, I wasn't connected to that. I didn't even know anything about it. I was talking to a young man who was very respectful. They even let me shake his hand. They let us give him tracts, and which I was surprised, but they did all that. Nowadays, I don't know if they would. We were under high security. I mean, they were watching everything we did, but that was a long time ago. That's been at least, oh my goodness, that's probably been, let's see, that's probably been over 20 years ago. I'm trying to think, maybe 25 years ago. He's probably still in prison. He may be, 30 years to life. I don't know. I don't remember a name, so I don't know how much he got. Don't know the deal. God does. But it's hard to not, it's hard to be angry with somebody you don't know. You don't know what they did. You just see a person in front of you. You're talking to them, and it's really this power of God and the forgiveness and everything. And I got to be honest. When I left, I grieved for him, but I did pray for the family. I didn't know the people that happened to, and I prayed for them, and I prayed for that young man. And to me, I hadn't been really serving the Lord long, not intently like I was then. And I had mixed emotions about it. It really hit me hard. And it's easy to put people behind the bars and just forget about them and call them names, and but we got to let God be the judge. We judge them judiciously on the things they did here. They'll pay for their crimes, but the ultimate judge is God. And it was just very moving for me to be there. Tarman, let's see here. I think that's, I don't hide anything. Alcoholism runs in our genetic makeup, and hey, there's others here, that have had problem with that, and they can, in the past, and they can understand that. And it's difficult, I was talking to someone today. We were talking about, sometimes you lose track of people and you reconnect with them, and they've been through a rough time. You don't even know the whole story. And somebody came to see me, and it really touched me hard because I love them, and I told them I love them. So I've never forgotten you, and I don't know what's happened. I don't want to know. I just want you to know that I care about you, never forgot you, and I love you. And they told me they never forgot about me, and they love me. And it's hard. It's so hard because of situations, and they've been, what's the expression, to hell and back. I mean, that's really it. I mean, it's literally not going into the bowels of hell, but that they really have walked. I mean, that's a rough walk. That's deep down in the gutter, right? It's hard, and it can be very hard to climb out of that. I mean, you ain't gonna do it alone. You got to have help. You got to have the Lord. You got to want to. All those things we talk about. That's, it's just it's very interesting, to me, of how we respond to some of these things. And you got to know when to just not say anything, because some people are not going to understand it, and all you do is cause them to be angry and stuff. But I don't like anybody telling me how I should feel. I don't. I find that most of the times people have an agenda when they do that. Um, we did a funeral once, and there were people that were mad at my wife. And if they see this, I love you. Some of them are not with us anymore, but there were people that were mad at my wife, and they got mad at her because she hugged people they were mad at. My wife says, let me tell you something. I hug people, and I don't push anybody away. And I love you. I love them. And I thought she handled it wonderfully. She handled it as a pastor's wife. She handled it as a Christian. And it was a difficult situation. And, and both sides were really giving us a hard time about the other side. And what we said is we're not taking sides. We're not going to take sides in this. We can see, we see all the issues. We don't need, we're just not going to do that. And I'm sorry, we're not going to side with you against them or with them against you. We understand all those things. We're here to minister, to comfort, and do what we can. I remember the funeral director said, he said, "Boy, you got your hands full." And I thought, well, the Lord is my shepherd. And I said, we'll just pray through. And he said, amen. And we did. And that's what happened. Let's see here. We got a big old point here from Tire Man. God stopped me from drinking myself to death. You have to have something that shows you that you are an alcoholic, because you are the only one close to you that says you are not. That's a tremendous and powerful statement there, Tire Man. Wow. That's deep, brother. That's deep. It's my dog out of here. Kaylee's dog. She's there sniffing around. I want to move a wire or something. But yeah, I mean, you folks you come in here with so much good stuff. Um, Fortunately, I lived hard and fast for around 20 years. And yeah, you know, I was there's some people, and you wonder, I don't know where they're at. You're talking about living hard. What is it, Gary Busey? And you look at him and what he has put himself through. Oh my goodness! I mean, it's before he passed, Meatloaf, and there were times that they just wrecked themselves with alcohol and whatever. And you can see her. What's the guy? The Keith Richards. I mean, you know, you can see it. They wear it. They wear it. And hopefully today, at their advanced stage, they're not doing those things. Some will continue. They never get past it. I watched it was like an after school movie, I think, at one time. It was a great movie. It's very hard to watch, but it shows a downfall of a man and woman, and how it affected their lives due to drugs, mainly drugs, but how they rebounded that. And then they became advocates, and they would go and counsel people, speak to schools and stuff like that. But watching them go through the downfall was very hard. And it's a movie. I think it was based on some real people, but it was very hard to watch. Very, very hard to watch. Um, Amen, brother. Amen. That's right. You ever seen some of those bulletins, and it starts out with this very young, healthy looking, energetic, beautiful young person. And then within like 6 months, you see the progression. And then at the end, they look like they're very, very elderly. And it's rough. Their whole appearance changes. And that's hard. That is so hard. So, but yeah, I was going to, so songs, playing in bands that can lead you down wrong paths. Yeah. We're going to get in a topic here in the second hour. I want to talk about. I mentioned it here, I think, on Wednesday or something with Rob, and he had his thoughts on it. But I wanted to explore it a little bit more, because I think it's interesting as I thought about the different places I go and stuff. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. We're going to take a break. We've got some updated and new commercials, so we're trying to keep those fresh. I wanted to do a couple of more, but I ran out of time, so had a lot to get done in a short time. But we'll run through these, and we'll be right back. Thanks for being there, folks. Stay with us. The Southern Fried Podcast is pleased to announce our newest show called Southern Talk. We merged two shows called Manners and Mannerisms 101 into this new show that we felt would better fit our interest in talking all things Southern. So join us for Southern Talk, where we still cover all those manners and customs that we are known for in the South. But now we can expand the topics and reach of this show in a show called Southern Talk with Rob and Dave. Hey folks, this is Dave with the Southern Fried Podcast. We want to give you a programming update. We now have added a stream which we'll be loading a lot of our long form content into, which is the Apple Podcast. There is about 8 programs up there currently, and now we are adding all of our morning shows, our midweek Hump Day news program that's in the evening on Wednesday, and also our Front Porch Talking, as well as Mama Said, and maybe a couple of others as well. So join us on Apple Podcasts. Give us a follow there, and you'll be able to not see us, but hear us. And so we're just adding to the kind of streams that we're in. We have also went live on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, X, and Twitch. And so you can hear us when we go live. You can whichever stream you're using, you can join us. And we thank those who already have done that and chatting with us and hopefully be coming on screen with us. We are seeing tremendous growth in the podcast, and we're working very hard behind the scenes to bring you some new and exciting things. Hey, we want to thank you for listening to our morning funnies and our morning devotions Monday through Friday. Those have been very popular, and we appreciate all the feedback on that, as well as many of the other programs like our Pets of the Week, which is twice, once for cats, once for dogs. Then we have our Veteran of the Week, and that has also been very popular. We have a new show that will be debuting soon, the Southern Fried Podcast, or SFP News Desk. This is going to be looking at some current events that are going on, especially as we head into election season. Getting within range of the election, we'll be talking about some of those things. We invite you to join us for all of our lives or view our recorded programming. We thank you for all of the support. In addition, we will have a merch store that will be coming very, very soon. Thank you for the support. If you have ideas, send us those ideas. You can send those to our email address, southernfriedpodcast@yahoo.com, or you can message us. The Southern Fried Podcast now has its own store. Go to sfplive.com/store. These links are also found on Facebook and X and some of the other social streams. You will find shirts and hats and mugs and bags and all kinds of items with many different designs. These are just but a few of the more than 250 items that we have with different designs. We hope you'll come and shop, support the podcast. Every dollar that is paid will go towards keeping the podcast growing, and we thank you for your support. sfplive.com/store. Go shop today and get that favorite person in your life their Southern Fried Podcast item, and it'll help us advertise the podcast as you wear these things or take these things out into the public. We thank you for your support. If you have any questions, email us at southernfriedpodcast@yahoo.com. We'll be glad to answer. We're running some specials as well, 20, 25, and even 30% off in some cases. This will eliminate the mailing charges for sure. So go to sfplive.com/store for your Southern Fried Podcast items today. Remember, Christmas is just around the corner. Thank you. Well, that's a thought for you, right? Christmas is just around the corner. Yeah, I actually loaded the wrong program, and it's pretty updated, but I've actually updated it again. I don't know what I did, but I think I forgot to upload that one. I've got it done, but it actually talks about our new some of the things we've updated even since then and changed around. It changes all the time. Every time I make a new ad for it, we change stuff and or just really expand or make it better or whatever we're doing. So we're working on that and everything else and trying to come up with new ideas all the time. We didn't get in touch with the folks. We've talked with them and they've just been busy with Stop the Monkey Farm, but we've been keeping up with them, commenting with them, and They have a prayer every Tuesday afternoon down there. Of course, I'm way up in North Georgia, but who knows? I might make it down there some Tuesday and go pray with them. But we're talking to those folks, and we're still going to have them on. We were hoping to have them this week. We hope to get that accomplished in the next few days. It'll be, of course, the first of the week. We won't do it over the weekend, but we want to talk to those folks, and they're very active, in trying to stop this. And I was reading along with that. I didn't realize how many. It's really amazing how many in the state of Florida, how many monkeys are being experimented on. I didn't know that. And I don't have that data in front of me, so I'm not going to throw something out there and somebody call me on it. But apparently there's a lot. And I didn't, it's just one of those things. You're not around it. You don't know about it. I think this has grown into a bigger issue for me, for sure, more than just this particular location. It's something that I feel strongly about, and the more I hear, the more I want to be involved in helping these folks at least get the word out, and also keeping our veterans in front of our minds, and as I said, talking about some things that we can do there to further talk about that and get that information into the hands of the veterans. And I think it's Tuesday night. Rob is going to be speaking again this time. It'll be Tuesday night, not Monday night. He's speaking at another American Legion in the area. So I hope you got to see that video. He was nervous about doing that, as you would be too, if you've never done something like that and you are asked to do that. And if public speaking is not your gig, that can be hard. And he didn't think he did a good job. At first he said, I'm not, I don't. He struggled with whether to even record it. And I told him, I said, well, you should, because you can't go back and do it if you decide to later. Go ahead and have it. If you don't want to share it, then delete it. And but there's other reasons. It's not just because he's afraid of that, but I want to he's not discussed it much on here, but I want him to have the opportunity to do that if he chooses, of why this is very hard for him. And he did it. They recorded it. Then he sent it to me, and he said, or he loaded it up. They found a way to load it up, and they said, please review this, and if you think we should, then promote it. And so they loaded it in, and I looked at it, and I went, wow, great. And I said, why wouldn't you? I said, put it out there. And so he did, but he wanted me to write the intro to it. And I was more than happy to do that, but I told him I was very proud of him. And he's able. It's hard to watch yourself. I get it, right? It's hard to watch yourself. And there's another comment that's really strong. Amen, brother. Amen. So if you were able to watch the video, there were people that they stood up and applauded him. And a lot of them were older veterans. I mean, they were senior citizens, had been out of the military a long time. Nobody. He didn't know how they would take this, but they took it very well. That led to another appointment at another county, or I guess it's maybe another city in the area. I don't know if it's the same county. It might be the same county or a different county. And as you saw, that I interviewed Post 40 up here in Ringo, Georgia, and just touching base with them. They were set up at the Labor Day at the Post. And we talked about that just a little bit off camera. It wasn't on camera too much, because I didn't know how much he may or may not want to talk about that. But this, again, just getting more of this information out there is vital and important to that. So we're working on that very hard, trying to get that information out there. And not that it's not been, but in a lot of cases, it's probably not been promoted as it needs to be in a lot of cases. So I'm proud of him, and this has been really hard on him, and he's not here tonight, so I won't embarrass him. he doesn't like the attention, and I get it. And so while he's away tonight, and whether he watches this or not, I still want to think we should talk about it. And we're working towards something even more that we talked about weeks ago, and really it goes back further than we ever met George Eshelman. It's amazing how this has happened because we were talking about some things that Robert was not ready to share yet, but he said in a couple of months. Well, it's been a couple of months, and then this came up, and it's just like a further confirmation that we're on the right path, and just trying to get to that point and taking it not fast, not slow, just the right speed and letting things come to us. But really, we have to think. The very one of our, I think it was first or second interview we ever had with anybody was the young lady I work with who talked about her veteran that she helped to open up, at least to the point he would record that, and she shared his story in the paper. That was the initial. We were already wanting stuff like that, and it was like God just sent this person to me because He did. And then we had further discussion. We developed the Veteran of the Week off of that, and then now George Eshelman was brought to us as a contact. And along the way, there's been other things that have happened, and we've had offline discussions about that. Maybe we should have recorded all the offline discussions we've had, because we've had some really powerful offline discussions. In fact, one night, it was a Sunday night, it was so good, I said, let's just turn record on and go live. We did a special front porch on Sunday night. We'd already been talking for an hour, and I said, we're missing it. Let's capture this and bring people into the discussion. So that's what you do on the front porch. If you had all those discussions, I mean, that would be great if you had those kind of things that you could talk about with people and you remember, but you forget it, most of it. You just remember being there, but you don't remember everything you talked about. And sometimes you want to capture that. And it's like I was listening to a singer of a well-known band, and I can't remember who. He's one of the songwriters. And he said, I've learned if when an idea comes, whenever it is, make sure you write it down, or you will never forget that. Whether it's the musical part or the lyrical part, write that down and get it down on paper or on a recorder or whatever. It don't matter if it's the middle of the night, because if you don't, you will never get it. And I think there's timing for this and all that. And I think if we miss that timing, it won't ever happen in the same way that you expected it to. You've got to seize the moment, as they say. Take the time to, and that could be in anything. It's not just in this topic, but it could be in any topic. You've got to seize the moment. And especially if God's leading you to do something, seize the moment and go do it. Because if you're off timing with that, you may never get another chance. Somebody else will. God will accomplish the task, but you might not have your part in it, and that you could have had. So we got to be bold, and we got to it was hard for him. It was very hard. We talked the day of. He had rehearsed his speech in front of his wife. He had some note cards. He got messed up on his cards, and he talked about it later. And I said, "You did fine." I said, "You know what happens? We all do that. We all, because when you're practicing, it's one thing. When you're in front of the people and you're trying to flip through these cards, it all looks like Greek. You're like, wait a minute, that's not right." And the more you mess with them, then really what needs to happen has happened. The cards are just to keep you on point, but really where it needed to come from was out of his heart, and that's what happened. And if you watch it, you can tell it's hard on him. It's very hard. But I am proud of him. And there's, like I said, there's a lot more at play here than just speaking in front of an American Legion. That's big, and the topic is bigger, but there's other things too. And so that'll become clear one day, I believe. So we'll just keep on plugging on and keep on being active in that. Okay, we're fixing to cross into our second hour, and wanted to bring up a topic and talk about it a little bit, and that topic is tipping. We kind of approached it the other day, but I got to thinking about it, and there's some aspects of it. I want to get your opinions out there about tipping, and especially in this day and time as we see the struggle that everybody's in. And Robert said, well, tipping for me is if the service is good, I tip. I'll try to tip well as I can. If service is bad, I'll not tip at all. And but I think that's a little bit more to it than that. So I'm gonna let me get this comment up. Uh, yeah, I don't have children, but if I did, I'd say that old saying, do as I say, not as I did. You kids love to hear them old stories because they go, hey, 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 I didn't know you did that. And, I use them for teaching moments if something comes up. I'll tell you what you can do as well. I've done this before. Sitting with a bunch of good old boys and they're going on about some stuff and you can bring up some stuff from your past. And I remember one time I was talking to these guys at work and they were bragging about shows I'd been to and different crazy things that happened. And I kind of jumped in the conversation. I said, oh yeah, I remember one time I did this and did that. And they're like, you did that? And they was all laughing and they're slapping each other on the back and trying to do the other. Well, if you think that was big, look at what I did. And I let that build up and build up. And I said, yes. And I said, I kind of went to a crescendo and I said, I'm telling you, and I had them just on the edge of the seat, and I was telling them a couple things that happened, and I said it was just so funny until it wasn't, and they were hooked. They said, "What do you mean until it wasn't?" I said, "Oh, you talking about my story, or so what you did? You was telling us about this, whatever I told them it was." I said, "Oh yeah, that was real funny until it wasn't." I said, "What do you mean it wasn't?" I said, "Well." It come to me while these things were going on, and I realized something. And I just played it out for a minute or two, and they're like, what, what'd you figure out? You got me curious now. I said, well, I was sitting on one of them bar stools or whatever it was, or I was at the show. I don't remember which one I used, and I said, it came to me that I was the biggest idiot in the world. They're like, what? What do you mean? I said, well, here I am. I'm doing all this silly, foolish stuff that I thought was funny. And it hit me that I wasn't put here on this earth to do that foolishness. And furthermore, I was ashamed. Well, I was ashamed. I said, because God, who put me here, wanted me to serve him. And by now they're like trying to back out and I won't let them go. I said, God put me here for a purpose, and that purpose was not to go out and act like an utter fool. I said, furthermore, a person that goes and does those things and, pours the alcohol down his throat and just, don't spend time with his kids, maybe not work, have hangovers next morning. I just poured it on, sick, throwing up and all that stuff. I said, that's the biggest foolish person in the world. And I said, it was me. And I said, I gave all that up. And I said, whatever year it was, and I remember then, it's been a long, long time now. And I said, and I don't live that way anymore. And I don't look back, and I'm a happier man and a better man for it. And of course, they didn't want to hear anymore. But the seed was planted, and I was no different than them. I wasn't judging them, but I wanted them to know is that it's a dead end. My father-in-law said something to me one time, and he was a problem that struggled in this area, and he said this to me one time. And at the time, I wasn't where I needed to be, but I'd been raised right, and I knew. And he told me, he said, a man who drinks will never be as successful as other men who don't. And that got my attention. I said, well, why not? He's same things I said. He said, and I drink. He said, you won't go as hard as the person who doesn't. You'll sleep later because you got a hangover. You'll cut off earlier to go have the drink. You will waste money. You'll waste leads. He just went through the whole litany of stuff, and he had it, but he knew it was the right thing, but he wasn't willing to do it at that time. He sort of got better and better until he got sick and died. But it's the truth. I thought on that a lot. A person who does all that stuff can't be as effective as somebody who doesn't, because you're devoting time to it. And it's bad for you, and it hurts you, and it hit home because I really thought about it, and I thought about the mornings I didn't feel good, and the family's all wanting to go, and I'm trying to drag myself out of bed and force myself to go. And, one day my wife kind of let me have it a little bit, and I deserved it. She said, she just said, this is getting old. This is getting old. We're your family and we need you. And, it ain't no good. You sitting up, wanting to sleep till 12 o'clock, on a Saturday or whatever. And we're just getting a little sick and tired of it. I didn't like it at the time, but boy, it stung hard. And again, thank you, Paul. I wouldn't. I guess I wasn't trying to preach, but I won't back off of it. I won't, and I'll say amen too. So yeah. So let's talk about tipping. Tarman's ready, and I'm ready. We're in the second hour. Let's talk about tipping. I want to bring out some things. So he says, I tip depending on how the service is. I don't have much, and if I can't tip them, I don't have enough to go out to eat. So I'll leave something cash for the server, not through the register. Okay, good. So there's a lot of thoughts about this. My point was, and I made me a couple of notes about this. So first of all, the question was when? When do you tip? So, and how much? How much do you tip? And when do you not? And then I got a couple of questions off of that. So when? When do you tip? And that might seem silly. You think, well, when you go out to eat, you tip. Well, there's a lot of thoughts about that because a lot of places, do you tip just when you go in a place and sit down and they serve you? Or do you tip when you walk in and pick it up and it's to go? Do you tip then? Do you tip when you go through a drive-through and they're handing it out the window? And I'm curious to know what y'all do or what you think. And there's no judging here. I'm not going to gig you. If Robert was here, I'd give him a hard time. I'm not going to give you a hard time. We like to fire each other up and give each other a hard time. Makes for good podcasting. But I think that's legit to talk about because if a lot of places now, they make it where you can do that. It's a little easier. Maybe they got the tip jar that's always been there, but now they got the devices. They hand that to you, slide your card, and you make the choice. You decide whether you want to do that. And then secondary to that, so do you tip whenever it's or just sit down, or if you go in a place, or if it's drive through, then how much? And on all your devices or on the ticket that they bring you for, you got to pay your bill. It'll throw your 10%, your 15%, 20%, or 18%. Some of them do different. It might be 10, 12, 15, 18, 20, or whatever. It may just be two of them, or it's usually about three. And, how do you decide that? What do you make it other? They have the other option. Or you may say, I just don't have it. And you push, skip or something. That's fine too. I get it. And again, it's not a judging. I'm just curious about, how you do it. You said, Tarman says, let me put it up here because let you see that too. If I have to, I'll shake their hand and give them something in the handshake so they will get it. Well, I like that. And I do like the face-to-face. I like to leave notes. Don't always do that, but I try. I think sometimes people don't carry cash, and so it's just easier to do it on the card. Brother Paul says, as like Tarman, it all depends on the type of service the person offers. Now, let me kind of go a little bit into that just for a second and ask this question along with that. Have you tipped when the service was bad, though? Have you tipped when you felt like the service was bad? And bad could be, that's a range. That's a whole nother discussion. What is bad service? Is it they didn't refill your glass on time? Did they just not check back in with you? Were they rude? Where they didn't listen, they didn't get the order right. I mean, there's a lot of parts to that. So is there levels to this where you tip according to some, or have you tipped somebody and the service was really bad and you thought, I'm not even coming back here, but you left a tip? And I'm going to just throw a little thing in there because I was thinking about this because I've been criticized for this. Paul says, yes, minimal. No, I think that we shouldn't tip. You shouldn't reward bad service. But however, I guess my heart gets me sometimes. And I think about, is there a kid at home who needs that? And yeah, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. And there's times I didn't, but there has been times I gave them, and people around me said, I wouldn't give them nothing. They don't deserve nothing. It was a horrible service. And I said, you're right. And I think I'll follow up with the manager and all that. But I said, there might be a kid at home. Maybe this little bit of change is something they're going to take to school tomorrow for a function or just to eat, or I don't know. Maybe that will just help them to bring something home that they need. Maybe it'll buy the pack of diapers or something. I don't know. What do you think about that? I'm not, again, not judging. Just what do you think about it? Got a couple of comments here. Paul, that's the way the majority of these people make their livelihood, even though their minimum wage is much higher than it used to be. And Tarman, if it goes through the register, it might get split. That's true. And taxed. That's true. I see lazy people standing around, and I don't want to split and them get some. So I understand that fully, and I'm glad that you put thought in it like that. I have known people that have slid an envelope to somebody and said, "Don't open this till you get home." I even give a card. And in the card, they say they don't say it's a tip. They say this is for you. It's we want to give you a card, and appreciate you. Open. It'll say on there, "Don't open till you get off work." As you get them to promise, "Hey, promise me you won't open that till you get home." And I say, "Okay, I promise." And they're like all excited and everything, and they go home, they open it up. Some places they'll fire you if you don't report all that stuff. I get it. But I also know how, one person maybe wanted to bless one person, and the owner gets involved, and maybe they're trying to get a cut of it too, right? So there's a lot of parts of this. Well, I don't mean there's no legality, Paul, with a card. I'm talking about a card that you write in with non-taxable funds. There's legalities, but if I'm a customer in a place, there's no legality to that, is there? If I give them a card that says thank you, and I have a note in there that a little witness to them, maybe, or something like that, and I took a few bucks in there, is there a legality to that? That's on them, right? It's not on me, is there? I'm curious here. Tarman says, like I said, tip probably 95% of the time. That's why I don't go if I can't tip. Oh, I get you. Yeah. I'm not talking about a gift card. I'm sorry. I didn't clarify it. I appreciate your thoughts because you're right. I was thinking because I have done that. I don't do it all the time, but I have carried with me little things that I could make a note out of, and even an envelope and a small one or something, and say, "Here, this is for you. We really liked your service tonight. Like talking to you, and you did a great job." And that's just a little something, a little card for you, a little encouragement later or whatever. And in that encouragement, it might be a few bucks. I didn't say that, but that's what I'm thinking. And they go home, and I wouldn't want to do that's a whole nother level there, I guess. But that's also dicey too, not just the legalities, but say you work in a department and you have to be real careful with that. You want to give some people a little gift card, and there's others maybe you don't. I've seen that happen, and you plan on like it's all sealed, and you tell them not to do it, and the next thing you know, they all open it up, and 3 got a card and 1 didn't. Uh-oh. Somebody gets their feelings hurt, and they weren't trying it, and you didn't because you didn't like them. It was just that these people felt led to do that. Christmas time kind of thing, Paul says, if I really like the person, I will offer them a better job opportunity. Well, praise God for that. Amen. I know a girl that was working in security, and a guy rode through her security post to his home, and he said, is this what you want to do the rest of your life, or would you like to do something with better benefits and has a chance for great promotions? And they said, well, I'd be interested in that. And they got them signed up, and through the academy, they became a worker in the local jail. And from there, you can, branch off and get training and do different things. I've lost track of them now, but they did. And of course, they did get better benefits. They got better pay. Of course, they were having to work with some prisoners, but hey, you got to, but it did give them an opportunity to get into the legal profession. And I think that was cool that they were trying to help them that way. And they were sort of lifting their standing up a little bit. I was at a restaurant years ago, and I won't go into the discussion because the person turned out to be a snake. But we were talking about an opportunity to better ourselves, and someone would take me to dinner and talk to me about it. Sometimes those can be really good, and sometimes they can be like, oh, man, why did I come? But the waitress was coming by and overheard, and I said, hey, can I get in on that? Here's my card. Sure, But I discovered I didn't really like what they were talking about. And it was, anyway, that's a whole nother discussion we won't go into on tonight's Front Porch Talking. Long, long time ago, and they said some really harsh things to me. And I said, well, you know what? I don't need to ever talk to you again if that's what it's going to be. You go on your life, and I'll go on mine. So we did. But I thought it was interesting that they were listening in like, hey, when E.F. Hutton speaks, right? Everybody listens, you know. So he was talking about a chance to make some money, and they're like, "What was that?" You can imagine on a waitress's pay at where were we at? We were at Shoney's, and I know they didn't make a lot of money. Tips was the game, right? And they were all into that. They said, "Well, I'd love to. I'll get in contact with you as soon as I'm off work. I can't talk now, obviously." They said, "Yeah," and I'm talking to this young man right here and his dear wife, and but that's great, Paul. God bless you. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you. I don't know if I said that enough the other night or if I said it all, but I'm proud of you. And you know, man, you're just killing it in life right now. You're killing it, killing it. I'm proud of you. And you've been a bless. You've always been a blessing to me, but you just really blessed me. Appreciate you being in the stream the other night. And you got to come back and do that more because you're good folk and you're good at this, and you got lots to say. And we all kind of think on this down most of the same lines, and we can bounce off each other. Of course, me and Rob, we're like two magnets or something. We either would draw together on some things, other things we're like far apart, but it makes for good disagreements. You know, I always said the best programs where you had point counterpoint. So we try to take the other side of something. Yeah, man, go ahead, man. Hey, have a blessed evening, Paul. It's good to I'll pop that up there because he's wishing everybody that. You have a great evening too, brother, on this Friday night, and have a great weekend. Yes, Tar Man sure was, and we got to get you in here too. You got to talk about some things you wanted to talk about. So Paul did. He'll be back. He'll be back. He's a busy man. He's a busy man. He's a blessing, definitely, and proud of him. Proud of all of you. You're all a blessing to us, and how you keep us going and keep us on our toes and correct us. Sometimes I'll listen to back to a program because I do this often, and I'll think, man, I just butchered that. I just said the wrong word there. I was thinking one thing and the word came out wrong, and y'all probably thinking, yeah, he messed that up. But we all do that. We're human, and I'll be like, well, they knew what I meant. I'll be thinking one thing, and the wrong thing comes out here. I'll have a name wrong or the facts wrong or something like that. And or somebody's telling me something. I'm over here making a note and I'm listening, but and I'll ask the question. I'm thinking I'll listen back to it. And I'll think they just answered that like 5 minutes ago, and I ask it again. But you know, you kind of get lost in the shuffle sometimes. You have to really stay focused, and that can be hard sometimes when you're dealing with some things on the side and you're trying to keep things lined up. It's really great. You know, one of these days. We're gonna have a full time person in here engineering for us. Running the mod. We'll need the mods running those comments and stuff. And but you know, we're not to that level yet, but we will get there one day. I'm having fun tonight. I miss Rob, but I appreciate all of you being in here. And what a great. It's just great to be alive, right? It's great to be alive. And I come home. It wasn't the best afternoon. Me and the granddaughter was butting heads. She's trying to get her new phone set up, and of course, she has all the patience in the world. Not. And I just, you know, what was the old commercial? Calgon, take me away. I like made the mercy call to my wife, like, tell me you're coming back soon with food to feed the angry lion, and you know, it's like that Snickers commercial. I mean, sometimes you know you're like they're just you know, and then you feed them and or you know they change. It's like, hey, how you doing? I love you. But that's the way I feel sometimes. I'm like, what in the world? Can't take this. I'm the old man. Why am I having to take this? And God says, well, that's what I called you to do. And it is a blessing, but sometimes you want to pull what little hair you got left out or the gray hair. Um, Me and her, we're two peas in a pod, but we butt heads sometimes, and but we love each other. We do. And she's going to grow up. She's going to be the one to look. All my family loves me, and they'll be there. But I said she's going to be the one that fights the hardest. She's going to be the one that fights the hardest because we have battled. She's going to be the one that stands on the line. She's going to be that John Wayne character standing on the line. She'll be the last one to give. She'll stand to the last person and defend me if the doctors are not doing what they need to do. She's going to be all over them. I know it. She'll be leading the charge. You do everything. There's that scene, and the movie, whether you like it or not, I think it's a powerful scene. What is the name of that movie with? Oh my goodness, it's got Nicholson, and it's got Shirley MacLaine, and all the different. I know all the actors, but the daughter gets the cancer, and she's going to die, and the kids are there. She's hurting, and she comes out, and she wants the. That's true, Tarvana. Definitely. Or I feel like the bug or the windshield, but she says, can we get it's time for her shot. It's time for her shot. And they're slow rolling her, and she just gets fired up. Like, I need the shot, get the shot right now. Her daughter's in pain, and it's an emotional scene, and they give her the shot, and she's thanking them, and you can see that her emotions are everywhere. Her nerves are completely wrecked. And you're watching your daughter die. And that's a hard scene to watch. They did a great job with it. And I want people standing up. My family would do it. I want people fighting for me like that. I don't, absolutely. It's just hard. It's really hard. Yeah, sometimes I do feel like the nut. Probably most of the time. But sometimes I'll ask that rhetorical question. And I know my granddaughter hates it when I do it. I'll say something like, hold on just a second. Did I just somehow land on a different planet and all the rules have changed concerning who has the say so here? Did we land on planet Nutsville? I'll say something like that. And all of a sudden, the kids now tell the adults what to do. Is that what happened? I don't remember making that journey. And they hate it when you do that. But I'll say, oh, that's right. We didn't make that journey. We're not on planet Nutsville. We're still here on planet Earth, and I'm still in charge here. And you're still going to have respect and . And I'm not trying to embarrass her if she would see this. I love her. I think everybody goes through that with someone. But they hate it when I do that. It's like, they're like, there he goes again. I have that little bit, and I can't help it. I have that little bit of snarkiness. I do. And Robert has a lot of it. And so we work well together because we like to pick at each other. And me and Paul work well together. And me and Chris has only worked together a little bit. And I think Chris came in one night, and of course, right before he just got totally sick. He's doing better. I'm looking for him to be back very soon. And I don't think it was one of those nights. If y'all saw that show, he was on there, and I looked up at one point, and he was doing things behind the scenes on the computer and helping with chat and looking at things and correcting things and just helping us out. But he was on air too, and he'd comment here and there, and he had that look like, wow, what in the world's going on here? Me and Robert's just tearing into each other and having a ball. And he's just sitting there like mouth hanging open, like, what are they doing? And we're like, well, jump on in there, Chris. He said, I was looking for a spot. I said, well, you just got to take it, man. Oh, man. Oh, I know that. Robert says, I love it when your face gets all red and fired up, but we have fun with it. We do not. We sometimes we'll have something we're really going to go over, like on the news desk. I have things laid out that I want to cover. That's a different kind of program. But Front Porch and Wednesday and not so much Mama Said, but a little bit. But those two programs are just designed. I have news items. Robert has no idea, by the way. I pulled the news out. Robert has no idea what I've pulled. He gets hit with it when you do. And we just let the conversation go where it goes. That's the funnest thing. And that's what we do on Front Porch. And I remember the first Front Porch we did, Robert says, Hey, man, what are we going to talk about tonight? And I said, whatever. He goes, well, no, I need to know kind of what you're thinking. I said, I'm not thinking nothing. He goes, well, how are we going to know what to talk about? And I said, we'll find our way. It's like George Eshelman on the trail. The trail will provide. I said, the show will provide. We got done that night, and we talked for 45 minutes after that first one, and he went, wow. He said, you were right, man. This is wild. I mean, I just every twist and turn out there. He said, that's fun. That's one of those where at the end of the night you go, that was fun. And we didn't hardly want to get off. We were wore out, we finally said, we got to get off here and go to bed. But that's when we knew that we had finally clicked. We'd found what we were supposed to do. And we'll hope to make it better and better. But hope you got good plans for the weekend. Watch some football maybe, or maybe you don't watch football, but enjoy the weather, church and all that. And, keeping up with the news and stuff. And we're what is it? It's 59 days, I think now, or 59, 60 till the election. It's right at 60. I'm trying to think if there's an extra day in there, but we'll just say 60. It's right at 60 days. November 5th. I know this is 6, but I don't remember if there's an extra day there. But we'll just say 60. Quickly, we're less than or right at a month away from the deadline to register. We're working. I'm fixing to find out what I'm going to do 2 days of early voting, one opening and one closing, and then it'll be on their election day. So those are already being talked about. I am going to be a part of something I loosely talked about. I can't officially mention it now because I'm not supposed to do that. But just for those that might remember, I am going to be involved in something here in a week or so, which we'll dive into a little political matter, which you won't be on here, but it'll be interesting nonetheless as we dive in and study some things. Sunday night on the news desk, I did a little research today, and I'm hoping to have enough. And I was looking at the state of Georgia. I went back to 2020, and I know there's controversy, but just as what they have certified, I was looking at vote totals in some different races, including the president. And I drilled in to look at I looked at some counties, including my own, and I wanted to see, because I had forgotten what was the percentage of voters versus those eligible. And in my county, it was higher than I remembered it being, but there was a lot left on the table. So we'll talk about that Sunday night on the SFP news desk, Christian and conservative. Yeah, Tyler, man, you do that, and you pivot. Me and Robert was, or me and Paul, whoever it was, we was talking about pivot. We pivot very well. You pivot very well, and we can kind of take off on something. And so that's a good skill to have. You can always find a subject to talk about. 59. Okay. Thanks for counting that up. 59 days, folks. 59 days. We're going to be voting. Well, that'd be the last day you can vote. You can early vote. Also, I looked at that, the percentage that early voted versus election. By the way, I went and looked at mine and look at that. You can look at all that Secretary of State's elections website. And if you're registered and you voted before, you can look at the times you early voted and the times you voted on election day. So I was digging in a little bit today. They do not have the sample ballot up yet. I looked today. I was hoping to have it for Sunday night's show. But I would say within the next 2 or 3 weeks, that's bound to be up there. No more than 30. I think around 30 days it should be, because early voting will be coming. So that'll be happening. Elderly guys can pivot. Yes, we can. We may not be able to run and dance and do all those things, but we can pivot. We can pivot. Absolutely. But think about that. 59 days. Hopefully we'll know. Hopefully the lawsuits won't come and we drag out like we did with Bush Gore. 59 days. Wow. And think of how intense it is. I mean, it's, and the Tuesday is, I think that's Tuesday, right? Is the debate. So the following Sunday night, we'll dig into that. We'll talk about that. That'll take up a lot. We'll still talk about some other news items along that, because these news items are going to pick up as we go. On our first Southern Talk show, and I had tried to get that ready for this week, but on the Southern Talk, one of the things I'm going to be doing is looking into different states and some news items, and some of those could be political. I'll probably save most of those for the SFP news desk. But I was looking in the state of North Carolina, and I found some because it's not things that are being really broadcast nationally too much. And I was looking at some interesting election news, not regarding the president there, although they did mention some of that. This was down ballot stuff, and I may cover a little bit of that because with the Southern Talk, we're going to talk about things in other states, not just state of Georgia. So I may be looking at one of those. Let's see what we got here, Tyler, man. What you put in there? We have done and seen and watching TV. We kind of seen a lot. Some I wouldn't talk about on the air probably. Well, yeah. I mean, some we can't. Some we can't. But we can, and we clean it up. You know, sometimes comments can't come up on the screen. But we don't criticize. You know, if somebody list had to be really ugly, we'd kick them out. But you know, people on our show, they don't do that. I did have to kick a guy. I did ban a guy. It's the first ban I've had. There was a guy that made a comment on one of the shows after we had aired it, and it was posted and ugly. You're banned, sir. You have to change your name, come back a different way or whatever. But these tracking mechanisms now, it makes it harder for you to do that because we put in there that you're banned if you change names. Even you're going to have to figure out another way. If you really have that intent on it, we'll just keep banning you. But you hate to have to do that, but we're not going to put up with that. And even on the comments on stay out there online, we'll remove those because we want it to be family friendly. That's okay. It's America. You said your comment. We banned you. We're not even going to comment. We're not even going to debate it. So try not to be that. But if you go there, cross that line that hard, you're done. So I don't want people to see that ugliness and stuff. It wasn't at us. It was just an ugly comment and trying to be funny. And I don't know who he is, but he saw it out there in that that social stream world and decided to go there. And so we just said, okay. I didn't even talk. I don't even know if Rob knows about this. I just did it. We're both admins, you know, and I would expect him to do the exact same thing. I just hadn't had a chance to tell him. But yeah, you know, some people, you know, I love to read comments. I don't comment as much on stuff because I just don't want the attack, you know, if it's a controversial subject, especially. There's always some Weisenheimers out there. They got to be a smart aleck. But the comments are really just crack me up. But there's always that one person who just goes there and they think they're cute, and they're really not. They really just are. They really show how limited they are. They have no cognitive, logical ability to think, and they just go for the dirty, the disgusting, and they just think, oh, that's so funny. It's kind of like the guy calling up a live show and getting something in there, you know, that they should. That's why all the delays. And they just sit and laugh at that. Well, you're not, you know, you're not funny, but oh yeah, I understand, Tarman. Thank you for that. I'm not talking about ugliness. I've just seen stuff from the United States you might cover. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean there are some things you can't. I mean, that's a lot with the veterans. Let me use that as the example because I understand what you're saying. When we talk to a veteran who's been in battle, or I am never going to ask that veteran to describe any of that ever. I'm not going there. If they decide they want to cover something, I'm going to keep shut and listen to it, and then we'll move along. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do that. And there's some shock jocks, they used to call them. They would want the real controversial, and they'd try to dig in and get to the bottom of something like that and get them to talk about blood and guts and gore. And we don't need to hear about that. And so I wouldn't. Yeah, there's just some things you just, or you know, you just do that. So my granddaughter's showing off the dog, and they're being silly. But we got a few minutes left here, so yeah. So tipping is, do you tip through the window? Do you hit the tip jar? Or if they got it up there by the restaurant, you go in and get a to-go order, do you drop tips in there? I'm just curious. I think me and you's the only ones going to talk about that. A little bit of the dog out there you see there. But yeah, so what What do you do? Or do you want to talk about something else? We got a few minutes left. Maybe the dog wants to talk. So, the dog don't like me. So, but she's being nice. Don't get her too close. She might decide she don't like me a lot. Let's see here. Let's see. We got another comment here. I spent time in a Boilermaker tank shop in Birmingham. I've seen a lot. Oh, yeah, there's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. In Birmingham, that's interesting. I didn't know that you spent time down there in Birmingham. Of course, that's I guess it's still that way to a degree, but at one time, extremely industrial city. A lot of steel. It's got that smell in the air. As you smell that metal and things that I haven't been through there long, but I remember coming through there at night, and you could just smell all that manufacturing going on, the different metals, and it gets up in the air. And of course, it's everywhere and stuff. I know they've tried to change that some, but it's still that way. It's like a southern Pittsburgh, I guess. I've never been quite to Pittsburgh, but I could see it being like that. A lot of crime in Birmingham. And if you're down around Birmingham and hear us, I'm not judging or putting you down, but it's the truth. And by the way, one of the I can't remember if it was a council member or what, but in another city, she really took the mayors of Birmingham and Montgomery to task and said, "What you're doing is not working. I'm not trying to put you down, but we got to get a handle on crime. You can't defund the police. You got to start arresting these people. You're letting them go and people are afraid to walk to their mailboxes." And she said, "We got to put a stop to it." And you can see that I don't know if it's still up, but 1819 News. I'll give them a plug. They're in the state of Alabama, great conservative Christian news service. 1819 News. That's the founding of the state of Alabama. I know I've got a hat somewhere and some other things, but I don't have it in here for that. But I do subscribe to their emails and stuff. And of course, I'm a paying member. It's not much, just to help them out. And yeah, that's true. Tar Man, it's all gone now. Just a lot of buildings still there. So that's sad. It's like a dying town. Then the tax base goes, and you don't have, then you just can't afford all the services and stuff that you've promised out. But yeah, there's a lot of history there. A lot of history in Birmingham. Some great, some not great. I had a friend. He used to put in redo the bathrooms for one of the companies we won't mention, but a lot of his were veterans. They got a veteran benefit that helped with that, or maybe paid for it. And a lot of them around Birmingham, lots and lots of them. And he'd go down to Birmingham to do the installs. And he'd park the truck there, and he would say, or he would come and he would talk to the guy, and he said, "I have to charge extra money while I'm here, so I have to pay somebody to watch the truck, so my tools are not stolen, the truck's not stolen while I'm here." And there was one guy, he's no veteran, and he said, "Well, how about if I watch the truck?" He said, "Well, I don't know." He said, I got my gun. I'll get my shotgun. I'll sit out here in the lawn chair. He said, I guarantee you nobody's taking off of your tools or your truck. He said, you got a deal. It saved him $200. He said, I'm an old veteran, but he said, I'm old, but I can still shoot. And he said, I don't blame you a bit. He said, I know you're not judging us. We got crime. And so I've always heard when you go into New York City, some of them drivers have to have a second driver. That's to watch the truck. That's sad, but it's true. Or we could probably say the thing about L.A. or Chicago. I mean, I'm not putting the cities down. I'm just saying crime is rampant. Look at what happened to the San Francisco 49ers rookie, who was shot. And was he going to be okay? He was going to miss some games. He fortunately didn't die, and the guy was trying to steal his Rolex. And it's a rookie, Ricky Pearsall, is that his name? People they like turn their head, but crime's rampant. That's one of the things that's really a driver in this election is about the crime, of course, the border and all that, but the crime, the economy, energy costs, and all that. I am thankful, and hey, I'm glad that some gas prices came down. I saw 258 here locally the other day. It's Tennessee side though, not Georgia. 258. That's been a long time, but I did pay 277 this morning. I think 277 Georgia side. So that does help. Every little bit helps. Doesn't change who I'm voting for. They could bring it to 50 cents, and I'm still not changing my vote. But whatever's bringing it down, I'm thankful because that will help with everything else. Because all the delivery, everything has to, got to have that fuel. And Tar Man, I was curious. I was sitting here thinking, and I just know you from working there. So you said you did boilers, played in bands. What else did you do as far as work? That was, you will share it. It might be interesting to me or the folks. What other, what else did you do that really stood out, in your life that you enjoyed doing, or maybe it was just something you did. I didn't know that, Tar Man. That's interesting. Rome, Georgia's rated as one of the most dangerous towns in the South. That's sad. Rome's I love the area of Rome. That's sad. That's sad. I ain't been down to see the Rome Braves in a long time. I'd like to go down there. My dad used one of the hospitals down there, Redmond. Saved his life once. But yeah, Redmond Hospital, very, very another good hospital in the South for the heart. But I like that area. About anything to make money. Well, brother, we tried to get by, right? Tried to get by, man. You do a lot of stuff. I think about, and I know it was a TV show, but it represented the time of the Depression was the Waltons, and sometimes you would see people that came through and they were peddlers. And they didn't like them. They didn't like the peddlers coming around. It was very demoralizing to the peddler because a lot of these people had been business people, worked in banks or whatever, all crashed. They're trying to feed their family. And so they're taking jobs selling whatever they can. And it's hard to get down in the mountains. I honestly don't know how much I could have walked up in the mountains. I can imagine going in the mountains and selling, but you got to do what you got to do. Because I got to imagine could be a high possibility of getting shot. Get out of here. Matter of fact, there's one episode where the guy's selling the books, and it's a good episode. And one of the guys on there, he's mad at the daddy of the Waltons because he thinks he sent them to him. He said, "You send that." What did they call him on there? It was what was that phrase they used? I can't think of it. But he said, "You send that back up my way, and it'll be your fault what he gets." I mean, that was what he was saying. Basically, he'll get some buckshot. What is that word? It's a drummer. Is that what it was? A drummer? They called him, and you had to sell stuff. You had to get money where you could get it. And people literally, and I think that's something important. Now I know everybody doesn't get all the food they need in America, but I'll say this: there's nothing like the 30s. There were families that starved to death. There were no social services. Your neighbors, but a lot of them, you look at the Dust Bowl. Those people got blowed off. I mean, their farms and all just got blown away. And some of those people just disappeared. They just died. They starved to death. They lost everything. They had no food to get, no money to get food, rather. And there was a lot of things that happened we probably can't talk about because it just became a matter of survival. Let's see here what we got here. Tarman says he worked in machine shops, a tree harvester manufacturing. That's interesting. A few different tire stores, ran tire service truck in Birmingham, worked interstate and rail yard. Man, that's a lot of experience there. A lot of experience. So did you go to school to be a machinist or work, would you run a lathe or, what kind of things did you do there? Tree harvester manufacturing. Yeah. Wow. It's interesting you worked in tires. That's a hard job too. I mean, you got the equipment, but man, you're throwing tires around. You can be bad on your back. Some of them truck tires, they heavy, brother. I don't care if you got air tools or not. That's still, you got to pop that tire up there and get it on her and get her going. So yeah, you can mess yourself up. Okay, TGNY, Big Orange Drive, grocery store. You have done a lot of stuff. I honestly, because I worked so long at this job that I've got now, still for 30, almost 34 years, there's maybe, let's see, let me just do a quick count in my head here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Honestly, I think it's probably 10 or less of other jobs that I've had besides the one that I've had all this time. And some of those were second jobs that I was working anyway, just for extra money. So, simple worker maintenance, started welding in high school. That's a great skill to have. And they need welders now. A lot of times they don't have good welders anymore. That's why they say, don't go to college, come get a skill. Come through you can get in the union or whatever, electrical workers, pipe fitters, welders, you get it. It's manual labor, but there's great money out there to be had. There's not enough of them. And so a lot of people are foregoing college. Not everybody needs to go to college. But yeah, um, do stuff like that. So you've got a lot of knowledge I don't have. You've done some stuff I haven't done. Working in a machine shop. I've cleaned machine shop. I didn't work in one. I did, but I was cleaning it. Not work. I've drove a lot of lifts. Of course, I worked in the safety, and I've shipped and ran machines. Um, some delivery. I've done delivery when I was very young. Security is another thing that I've done. So yeah, I worked part-time. Second job as a boat repair and garbage truck in Louisiana. What part of Louisiana was you in, man? Or was that when you was talking about being down there? You forgot. I forgot a lot. Was you down there near Baton Rouge? Was that where you was at? Boat repair. That's got to be hard work. Because I know that's not just engines. You're probably repairing damage to the boat. Yeah, that's amazing. You put your body through it. No wonder, man. You have worked. You have really worked your wore your body out. Bless your heart. That's some real manual stuff there. All the stuff you're talking about is really manual. Slidell. Okay, I got you. I guess that's how they say that. Slidell. Louisiana. That's an interesting state. Really is, especially the more south you go, right? Um, I've only been to Louisiana maybe 3 or 4 times my whole life, and mainly just traveling through. I've stopped at a few restaurants there traveling through, but drove truck hauling steel from Birmingham to Montgomery. It's not a bad run. I'd like to go back. The first capital of the Confederacy was in Montgomery there before they moved it, and I'd like to go down there. I think they still got that there, but again, crime is that's what you got to worry about. You got to park your car somewhere. You got to worry about that. I hate you have to think about stuff like that, but honestly, you do. I think about these people that go hiking and walking and stuff. They park their car there in the battlefield or some wilderness area, and I'm thinking, man, I'd drive a junker. And you don't want to leave nothing in there because they'll just bust your window and take it. It's sad, that you can't go do that stuff. And then you got to worry about what's on the trail. I was in CC's yesterday, and old boy came out of the bathroom. He was strapped up. He had the it looked like honestly, I think it's probably a 45. It could have been a 9mm. I just got a glance, but I said, okay, there's one in here. Nobody looked like they were, criminal top in there, but I was like, well, we got one. If somebody comes running in here, because there is crime over that way where we were at. And, so yeah, gotta be careful, man. You gotta. Oh, and I did work at a stove factory once. I forgot. Sometimes you forget, like you say, you forget all the places you've worked. I've done the, the yarn mills and done the stove and uh, just different things. I always thought that I would say Slidell is east of New Orleans before you go over Lake Pontchartrain. Yeah, I've been through there then because I have went through there. I was headed to the great state of Texas, and I was headed there, and I crossed over. I crossed over early in the morning. When I came back though, it was I was listening to the Saints play, and Bobby A. Bear was lit up on the air on the radio side, and he lost his job after that. I don't know what they did after that, but he lost his job on the radio after that. I heard that live. It was embarrassing for him. He got slobbered, and he announced that way. Started in old Doc Levy's farm. Doc Levy. Okay. Who was what area was this? Started working on the farms. Okay. Yeah. Well, my family, they did a lot of that too. Sharecropped. Sure did. Working those chicken houses. Yeah. So yeah. What your dad? Was your dad a farmer? Was your dad a mill worker or stuff? A lot of my family was mill workers and farmers, and they did both. Honestly, they'd have a little farm, and then they would work in the mills, and um, they're just like a lot of the people. They ran that yarn, they ran that carpet, and all that. So we got a few minutes left here. If you throw that in there, man, I appreciate you giving me some of that. Pontchartrain. Lake Pontchartrain. Boy, everybody knew all about that when the hurricane came through, right? I mean, it was bad. All that water there anyway, and then here come the surge of water and over the seawall, and oh my goodness, what a mess! What a mess. Farm work's not easy. That's work. You don't sign up for farm work to be lazy. You got to get it. You got to roll up the sleeves. You got to get in there and get it. There's nothing easy about it. It's hard. It's hard. It's a good life, as we've had our guest on here. It's hard, but it's a good life, but it's work. Oh, okay. Yeah, my family did some work for him as well. I think as well, um, or maybe it was a different one. I'm thinking of a different one. It was Doctor. I see who they. My family lived on the farm, and they worked at chicken houses. I think it's not the dentist. It was another doctor. It was I know it. I can't think of it, but they did that for a while. Loved farm work. Well, amen, brother. Amen. I'm glad. Farming's an honorable thing. The Bible has a lot to say about planting and harvesting and all that. But we got to have the food, man. If we don't grow it, I'm not eating bugs. not if I know it's there. I'm not eating bugs. I don't want that. Appreciate that good farm raised stuff. I like it. I've done a little bit of it, working with my family. Uh, Potatoes and corn and all that, beans and all that stuff, okra, squash, even some watermelon, cantaloupe, and whatever else. Yeah, man. Peppers, you know. Farming is honorable. We talk about vets, but when we do another path we go down as defending the farmers. Absolutely, defending those farmers, and we need more of them. We need more of them. It's really went to the bigger boys now. A lot of the small ones have gotten out. Sadly, a lot of them have got out. What was your most favorite thing you loved about the farm work? What was that, man? What did you like the most? Like, you just look forward to it. I'll tell you one thing from working on a farm. One of the things I really liked was after you've worked hard all day and you worked, they fed you good, but you'd burn that off. It was in the evening time, especially if it was kind of cooled off, just like we're doing right now. After dinner, supper, whatever, sitting on the front porch, maybe out in the front yard throwing a football, or sometimes you're just too tuckered to do that, even as a kid, and just kick back on the porch and listen to the talk and watching the whatever, the sun go down, and drinking something cold, relaxing, and just getting ready to go to bed. Just wore out, just being outside. Yeah. It's just something about that. It feeds the soul. It really does. Yeah. Great meals, man. You have to, man, because you got all that work to do, and you're out there. I mean, going, you're getting it, and you gotta get it done. There's no doubt, you got to get it done, and you burn it off. I mean, man, they'd have them cat head biscuits and gravy and eggs and bacon and sauce, the whole thing. It wasn't one or the other. Like you go to the Waffle House or Huddle House where they say, "Do you want sausage or bacon with that?" And I'm thinking, I want both. But yeah, you'd eat all that stuff and drink your milk and or water and maybe some sweet tea if it was lunch or whatever. And you go out and you go get it and you worked. And you think, is that other mealtime coming? Sure enough, they'd holler in, hey, it's whatever time. You'd come and eat, go wash your hands off, go in and eat. You might get a few minutes, then you would, cooling down and eating, man. That's it. You know it. Cooling down, eating, getting back at it. And I'm going to tell you, when you went to bed, you didn't have no problem going to sleep. You'd be falling asleep before you got there. They'd say, all right, it's bedtime, everybody's, let's go. Total black, no night lights on the farm, all lights out. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Pitch black. You could hear everything though. You could hear a pin drop. You'd hear a train in the distance. You'd hear the wind whistling through the trees. You'd hear leaves falling. You'd hear all that stuff. You'd hear somebody get up and go in the restroom, or your aunt and uncle coughing or something. Might have a little conversation before they went to sleep. And then in the morning, before the sun came up, you'd hear some clanging and banging a little bit, and all of a sudden you'd smell that food cooking, man. You'd be like, hey, it's time for breakfast. And then you just lay there. It was neat to sit there and just listen, or lay there and listen to it for just a minute, just to hear those sounds. I'll never forget them. And then they'd say, get up, and you made your bed and changed your clothes, put your clothes up. You already took your bath the night before. Go in there and throw your overalls on or jeans or whatever it was. Go in there and sit down and eat that big breakfast. And then it was all right. Let's get it. Get to them chores, because you had animal feeding was first. That was the chores first. You get all that done, and depending on how much was going on with that, that might take you up to lunch. But then you'd hit them fields, planting, harvesting, weeding, a lot of weeding. Watering. Then there was always other things too. Oh, we got to cut the grass. We got to haul some water. Maybe we got to work on this thing over here. We got to do this. We got to clean this area up. It was all. You never said you was bored. You're absolutely right, brother. And some people's never experienced that. That is awesome. The dark quiet of the country. There's a lot of people don't know what that's like. It's soothing to the soul. It really, really is. And that's why I like the walks, because sometimes they'll let you experience that a little bit. There's other shows like that. But you'll hear things off in the distance and train. Maybe somebody coon hunting, hear the dogs barking. I heard that too, every time I hear get a gunshot go off or something. Loved jumping in the creek. We dammed it up for swimming. Yeah, you gotta watch the snakes though. Right? You got to watch the snakes. Oh, yeah. Hey, we're fixing to go. I appreciate it. I hope I had just me in here, not with Rob. Hope it hadn't been bad. Thank you, Tarman. Thank you, Paul. Daniel, thanks for stopping by. It's Friday night. A lot of people busy. We got some people in the stream. If you you just listen, thank you. God bless you. We appreciate you. Don't forget our program this weekend. We got Vet and Pet of the Week. It's cats tomorrow, I believe. For the pet, Rob does those. I'll do the veteran. We've got that veteran. It is unfortunately one that was lost to suicide. We were given that at the meeting. They passed it along. I don't have a lot of information. We're going to recognize that sad story in the morning, but we need to recognize them and honor their service. Sunday morning in the Word, bright and early. There'll be a sports show come in too this weekend at some point. And then Sunday night for sure. The news desk, we jump back in heavy into elections. We're going to cover some articles around the South. We're going to look at, hopefully in Georgia, we're going to look at the closeness of this stuff, because it's split down the middle. We need everybody to vote. And there are votes to be had. I can tell you in North Georgia, there's votes to be had. And I'm sure there is in South Georgia. We're going to make that great appeal. Have a great night. Get you some rest. Hopefully you can. Just enjoy your weekend if you can. I don't know what's on the schedule, if you got to work or whatever. Pray for those, that's involved in the school shooting. So it's just so disheartening. Um, Pray for our military, our missionaries, the churches, the pastors. Pray for the elections, absolutely. Pray for our enemies. Pray for Israel. Lots to pray for, right? Lots to pray for. Um, yeah, Snakes watched us. See you later. Love you, brother. You're a blessing. All of you are. So we'll be back Monday morning live, 6 a.m. Then Mama said at 7 that night, and then we'll get started into our week again, getting closer to the election. We'll have a lot to say. We'll catch up with Rob about his anniversary. We'll see what he did or didn't do. Hopefully it went great. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. All right. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Well, once again, it's time, my friends, for another meet and greet. We're Southern Fried and nationwide, so hang on to your seat. Look around, here's what I found. I guess you'll never know what you'll see on the Southern Fried Podcast Show.